Hello viewers, this is Abdul Rahman and today we will look into the difference between the isotonic, hypertonic and hypotonic solutions. First of all, we will have a little brief intro about the osmosis. It is the net transport of water molecule through a membrane from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. So it's just a movement of water from the higher concentration across the membrane towards the lower concentration. And the second term is tonicity. Tonicity is refers to the characteristic of a solution across a special type of membrane, for example, red cell membrane. So our concern is about the tonicity. Under this heading, we will study the isotonic, hypertonic or hypotonic solution. So it is basically the study of a solution which will behave differently across a special type of membrane if the characteristic of solutions are changed. So first of all, we look into the isotonic solutions. Normally in our bodies, most of our cells are isotonic in nature. The environment around it, the extracellular fluid around it, and inside the environment cell, inside the cell, the environment is also isotonic to the external environment. So in that case, we can say that the concentration of solute inside the cell and the concentration of the solutes outside the cell, similarly the concentration of water inside the cell and the concentration of water outside the cells remain the same, and they balance out by just moving in and out of the cell. So the overall the shape of the cell remain intact and the size of the cell remain intact. So that's one of the reason that when we give a certain fluid intravenously to any person or a patient, then we give them the isotonic solution because it will have no impact on the cell shape and size. So that's the importance of the isotonic solution. So if you want to see an example, if you take a beaker and you add a 0.9% sodium chloride solution into it and then place normal red blood cells into it, so the size and shape of the cells will remain same and nothing will happen to its size and shapes. So that's the normal things which happen in our bodies. Then comes the hypotonic solution. In this case, there is a natural tendency to the cells to swell or even burst. The reason behind it, because the concentration of the solute inside the cell is more while the concentration of water inside the cell is less, and while the outside of the cell, the extracellular fluid contain higher amount of water and less amount of solute. So the natural tendency will be that the water will move from the higher concentration towards the lower concentration, so that water will move inside the cell and cell will swell and ultimately it will burst, which we call as lysis. If you put a red blood cells in a deionized water, the concentration of solute inside the cell will be more, while outside of the cell there will be no solute concentration. So all the water will move inside the cell and it will start swell up, and ultimately it will start lysing, or this we call as hemolysis in case of red blood cells. Then we come to the hypertonic solution. In this case, a solution having tendency to shrink due to loss of water, and in this case, because outside the cell the concentration of solute is more as compared to inside of the cell, so all of the water will move out of the cell, which will result in change in shape of the cell, which will be like shrinkage of the cell, and so that is also not a good thing for the cell. As we had seen in some kind of dehydration, that shrinkage of the cell might take place. Or even if you look at the example that we can't drink the seawater because it has a high concentration of solute or salt. So when you put a cell, red blood cells, in a seawater, so what will happen? The solute concentration will be more outside the cell, so all the water inside the cell will have a natural tendency to go outside the cell. so which will result in shrinkage of the cells, which is also known as crenation in case of red blood cell. So this was all about today's lecture. See you in the next lecture. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel. See you next time. Allah Hafiz.